So we've just conceded 7 goals in our last 2 games, at home to Bournemouth and away to Watford respectively. And are Chelsea in a bit of a crisis at the minute? All will be discussed in this latest episode of The Verdict. So the Chelsea players and Chelsea manager have come under a bit of scrutiny recently, and rightly so. We've just lost 4-1 away to Watford in probably our worst result of the season so far. Never looked like getting into the game. Before I get on to the 2 games, I'm going to talk about the negativity that has surrounded Chelsea this season, and that started from the very start of the season, from the summer, when we sold both Diego Costa and Nemanja Matic to Atletico Madrid and Manchester United respectively. And the Matic one was obviously probably worse because we were strengthening a rival, a big rival in United. You could hear the Chelsea fans were giving out about it, rightly so in my opinion, and you know, the media were all getting on Conte's back and getting on the club's back over the whole thing, and it was reflected in our first game of the season defeat to Burnley. But to be fair, the first half of the season wasn't too bad. We had a couple of poor results, but the second half of the season has started off extremely bad in my opinion. It took us a couple of games to get underway and get our first win, which was in that 4-0 win over Brighton at the Amex. We were then knocked out of the Carabao Cup at the semi-final stage by Arsenal, and the whole transfer window was a bit of a mess really, being linked with a lot of players that you wouldn't normally associate Chelsea with. In the end we ended up getting our man Olivier Giroud, who in the end was probably the best option for the role, but since then it's just been absolutely shocking. Starting off with the midweek game at Stamford Bridge versus Bournemouth, losing that game by 3-0, and I didn't watch the game, I didn't watch the highlights, but from what I heard, Bournemouth were deserved winners, and Nathan Ake, a former player of ours, getting the third and final goal for Bournemouth to further rub salt into the wounds. And after that game, it was hard to be confident going into the game on Monday night against Watford. But to be honest, Liverpool had just drawn with Tottenham on the Sunday, so you're kind of thinking surely that's going to prompt some sort of response from the players, and it's fair to say it didn't. Watford were the better side and were unlucky not to score on a couple of occasions before they did score, which was a penalty by Troy Deeney, which Gerard Deulofeu, in my opinion, dived for. It was similar to Harry Kane's against Liverpool, but obviously there wasn't an awful lot mentioned about that. Deeney scored it and proceeded to be a very nice individual to the Chelsea fans. Bakayoko was sent off before that. Hallelujah. I don't think I've ever prayed for one of our players to be removed from the pitch, but I was so happy when Bakayoko went. Moving on to the second half then, and Watford remained to look the better side and couldn't cement their dominance by scoring a second goal before we equalised thanks to a fucking brilliant Eden Hazard goal, I have to say. He was the only spark in a very poor team in the game, and has been for a lot of the season, to be fair. You look at players last season like David Luiz, like Kante, you know, Pedro, Willian, haven't been performing to the levels they have. Victor Moses as well, another one. And Hazard, despite all the speculation linking him to Real Madrid, has shown us that he deserves to wear the Chelsea jersey, unlike a lot of them out there at the moment. It didn't last very long. Daryl Janmaat put Watford back in front, and from then on it just went all absolutely tits up. Deulofeu got the third, Roberto Pereira got the fourth very late on, and it was a hectic last 10 minutes. Chelsea just they just fell apart. Once the goal from Janmaat went in, it just absolutely fell apart. We play West Brom this Monday night, bottom of the league. Do I have any faith going into it? No. No, I do not. Against West Brom, West Brom haven't had a good season. Obviously, bottom of the league, but the way we're playing at the minute, I don't feel like we can beat anyone. And the worst thing is, we have to play Barcelona in a couple of fucking weeks in the Champions League. Are you mad? Barcelona, I believe, are the only unbeaten team in Europe's top 5 leagues this season, and we have to play them in the Champions League. With Bakayoko in midfield. Are you fucking kidding me, man? And if you look at it on paper, the season hasn't been awfully bad. We're still 4th, we're still ahead of Spurs and Arsenal. Still in the FA Cup, got to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and in the last 16 of the Champions League, and I believe the Barcelona game is probably going to be our biggest game of the season. On paper it doesn't look bad, but there's still cries for crisis and cries for Conte to be sacked, which I don't agree with. I'm not saying I don't think there's a crisis at the club, but there is certainly a lot of negativity, and a lot of that could have been prompted by the whole controversy with the transfers. Conte obviously questioned Chelsea's transfer policy. So they're just my thoughts on what's going on at Chelsea at the minute. Hopefully we see an improvement, and hopefully we get the win against West Brom. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. Will Conte be the manager next season? It's hard to know. There's been a lot of reports linking Luis Enrique to the club. What players will be gone in the summer? What players will come in? It's hard to know. Roman doesn't seem very keen to splash his cash. I've heard that he wants to build an English core to the team, hence bringing in players like Danny Drinkwater and Ross Barkley. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please leave a like, subscribe if you are new. Have a good day, and I'll catch you